Rivalries being formed and multiple tire failures causing major playoff implications. Let's talk about Texas. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host, Alex Lambert, and let's talk about Texas. Unfortunately, we're starting this show out again on a negative note. More next-gen concerns we have to talk about. I'm going to talk about this kind of a rivalry being started between Byron and Hamlin, and of course, we'll go through the top 10 and that playoff grid a little bit later on this show, so I hope you guys do enjoy it. But we have to address the major concerns again. The top news story again, 2 weeks in a row now, is going to be the next-gen failures, the next-gen part failures, mainly the tires today. And that's so unfortunate that we're talking about this 2 weeks in a row, and it's so unfortunate that the start of the playoffs has been so rocky, and the playoff grid is essentially being set based off of more of a luck factor than a team talent and driver talent factor. And I hate to say that, but that is kind of what it seems like, especially coming from me as a fan. So we'll talk about it, we'll address it. I don't want to spend all day on it, but it does need to be addressed for sure. So first off, tire failures were serious today. I show a wreck here. Cody Ware just gets loose, overcorrects, slams head on into the wall, then eventually goes down, hits the pit road wall, which is a concrete wall, gets out of the car, collapses on the ground, went to the infield care center. Luckily, from reports we got, that his ankle was obviously in severe pain, but he was able to get cleared from the medical center. Nothing was broken, the x-rays, so he should be back to racing next week, which is great news. So obviously thinking about Cody Ware, hope him a speedy recovery from whatever injuries he might have sustained, and we hope he's back in the race car next week for sure. I want to get that out of the way first. But that creates a few problems because we've heard of safety issues all since this next-gen project started. Back in 2020, when they first started testing, safety issues were a thing. Back in the summer of 2021, apparently some of the dummies they put in the car wouldn't have made it in a couple of these crashes. So they had to put in some components to fix that. Safety is a major concern. There was actually an interview on Sirius XM Radio. I believe that interview was during the red flag on Sirius XM Radio during the rain delay. Noah Gragson said he's driving the car at 80%, so that way he doesn't have to take a risk and get involved in an accident, while he drives his Xfinity car at 100% effort and doesn't really essentially worry about it. He also said he wants this to be his last race he runs in the Cup Series this year. That is not good. That is not good for any sport. You're telling me that Noah Gragson, who I consider a very talented, raw talent race car driver, doesn't want to drive in the NASCAR Cup Series anymore this season because he's afraid of safety concerns, when NASCAR has a lower series where he runs, he says, harder and doesn't worry about safety. That's a major concern. We got to fix these safety concerns. I don't want to spend all day on it. I don't know all the components. All I know is we have a driver right now that's out hurt. I know Alex Bowman's complaining about back injuries or back pain, and I know we had a driver who collapsed on the ground today after a wreck. So looking at those components, obviously safety is a major concern. Not going into next year for next week at Talladega. So for the rest of this season, definitely needs to be addressed. Tire failures, you're having more DNFs. Obviously, that ramps up the intensity. You're having way more DNFs this season. Obviously, more wrecks, more potential for injuries. If you're having 4 times as many wrecks this year than you did the previous year, there's 4 times more likely you get an injury. So unfortunate, we got to try to get these wrecks resolved. Flat tires should not be causing wrecks as much. You go back to prior NASCAR, flat tire was somewhat common. You get a couple of those every couple of races or so. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes the leader would have a flat tire. I remember Kyle Larson at Pocono last year, but every time the leader got the race, every time the leader took the lead in this race at Texas, they had a flat tire, and that's because of another issue, which is dirty air. So it's so many problems with the next gen. First off, dirty air should not be playing this much of a role. There's no reason that the fastest race car is stuck in 15th, and it takes him 5 laps to get up to 14th. That's obviously not something else that needs to be addressed. Rear diffuser, gear ratio, something like that. And I don't want to be on a complaining streak, but a lot of issues today that need to be addressed. I'm not trying to complain too much. I mean, I know I am, but I'm trying to address the issues that need to be fixed. Nobody likes dirty air. Dirty air creates some of the worst racing NASCAR's ever seen. We've seen that over the last few years. Not to discredit the show, but unfortunately, dirty air is not good when you have an excessive amount of it like we did today at Texas. And that kind of protected the cars a little bit from having flat tires, I guess, because if you were in the draft or you run less. You don't have to run as hard. And I know there were some drivers that were running faster lap times, in the dirty air than the leader, but that's because, they're in the dirty air. They're basically being coasted along. It's just different. When you took the lead today, you had wrecks. Look, Kevin Harvick leading the race, just blows a tire, goes up, slams into the wall. Truex Jr., you see Martin Truex Jr. here just while leading the race, late in the race. And remember, this was after the red flag, so this was when the track temperatures cooled down. Goes up, slams into the wall, and then, of course, Chase Elliott did the same thing earlier. I'll show that in a little bit when I talk about the playoff grid, but just really a shame that we had all those tire failures. Apparently, there was an interview from Dustin Long, got an interview posted on Twitter. I'll leave a link for that, with Greg Stucker, works for Goodyear. I don't know if he's a spokesman or engineer. I don't know what he is, but he works for Goodyear. He kind of represents Goodyear. Didn't really give the most promising answer, just kind of said, we got to look at tire pressures from the teams. Come on now. I don't think the teams are still pushing it after all the tire failures in this race. I just can't imagine all the tire failures this season. He went back to Atlanta, said that was a big race they had to look at. Remember, you had a lot of leaders have tire failures at Atlanta earlier this year at a recently paved track, a brand new pavement at that racetrack. Just come on, guys. It's got to take a little bit of responsibility there. I'm not saying it was exactly his fault or Goodyear's fault entirely. I know NASCAR had a lot to do with it, but got to take a little bit. Don't put this on the teams, because I don't think the teams are still pushing it as hard as they can after seeing all the issues today whatsoever. So that, like I said, that interview did come from Dustin Long, and I'll leave the link in the description. Denny Hamlin actually responded to that by saying, "Oh, well, don't listen to any excuses except yourself." So, so a bit of a smirk there from Denny Hamlin. So, like I said, I hate sitting here to talk about these negatives, and it's so unfortunate that I'm still talking about the negatives, but it has to be addressed. Fix these tire problems pronto. Fix these safety problems as soon as possible. You don't have to wait till next year, because we're going to Talladega next week. Very concerned for the safety of these drivers right now, and it definitely needs to be fixed. So let's go through a few of the more positive topics, the topics I want to be talking about on a post-race show, and not, I don't like talking about bad things or negative things on a post-race show. Let's go to more of something that's a bit more fun to talk about, and that is rivalries. We saw a few of those today, notably William Byron and Denny Hamlin. William Byron gets hit by Denny Hamlin on the racetrack. Hamlin said in his interview he didn't know if he hit him, didn't know if he made contact. Well, I don't know. Denny Hamlin must be numb right now if he didn't feel that contact, because he slams into the door of the 24. The 24, William Byron obviously said it was a heavy impact. You can kind of see on TV it was a heavy impact twice, hit him twice there. And Byron wasn't having it. Byron was upset. You see here on the caution laps, you see this was right after Truex had a flat tire and hit the wall. You see him go up there and just slam in the back of Denny Hamlin, spin him in the grass. He said he didn't mean to spin him. Kind of feel like Dale Jr.'s reaction there. I mean, darn, what would it be like if he was trying to spin him? But, wasn't trying to spin him in his words, but definitely running the back of him there and spun Denny Hamlin in the grass under caution. We'll see if NASCAR has anything to say about that during the midweek. We know they don't like guys spinning people out or wrecking people under caution, especially. So we'll see if anything comes out from NASCAR during the week. Hopefully not anything too big points-wise that will affect playoffs, but we might see a fine or something like that. And Denny Hamlin just was a little upset. Denny Hamlin said in his interview, when we're racing Byron in the future, he's going to lose a lot of spots. So, but I think Byron is somebody who doesn't react a whole lot. He got knocked out of the way by Joey Logano back in Darlington, and I said in that video, Byron's got to start retaliating. And I like what I saw out of Byron today. He wants to win. He wants to get these wins. It's been a while since he won. Been a few weeks since he won. I think his last win might have been all the way back in Martinsville. So it's been quite a while since his last win, Martinsville back in April. You got to be aggressive if you want to get these wins. Show Joey Logano. Show Ross Chastain. Show Denny Hamlin. Show other front runners that you're not here to get pushed around. You're here to win races. If you start doing that, today sent a big message, I think, because I think in the back of everybody's mind, they're looking at William Byron. We don't have to worry about him making it too far, because we'll just bump him out the way. And that's why I didn't have him going far in my playoff grid. And if he proves that he's not that guy, like some other drivers have had to do, Joey Logano is a great example of that. He used to get pushed around. Now, don't dare hit Logano. He will start doing a lot better and start getting a lot more wins, I think. So, like I said, my favorite example is Darlington earlier this year. I talked about it in that race review video as well when he got punted out the way by Logano for the win. So, I'm glad to see him stepping up. There was a little bit of an incident. I do want to just show this video. I think this is Ty Gibbs and Ty Dillon getting into it, ruffling up there. Ty Dillon kind of came out of the track, kind of came out of pit road, hit Gibbs a little bit. Gibbs darts back into him and knocks him out of the way. So a few tempers flaring today at Texas. It was hot. It was heated today at Texas. The tempers inside the car, and then, of course, the temperature. We started this race. The track temp was 138 degrees. So that's obviously a major concern as well. So let's go through the top 10 just real quick. Tyler Reddick, obviously the winner, a big win for Tyler Reddick, his third career win. By the way, this is also Tyler Reddick's first win on an oval, and I think that's a big statement, an important statement to make. You want to win on all kinds of racetrack, but you especially want to get an oval win. You know, 2 road course wins is great. You show you're strong at the road courses. We have one of those coming up in a few weeks at Charlotte, one of the tougher road courses on the schedule, but to win at an oval sets a whole nother level, a whole nother standard. There's a lot of guys who won at road courses, a lot of road course ringers, but you know, there's a lot less guys that have won on oval, so it's certainly good to see Tyler Reddick in the 18 win on an oval. So a lot of, obviously, that's a lot of encouragement for Kyle Busch is going to the 18 next year with the same crew chief, same team, but also a lot of confidence being added to Tyler Reddick's resume and another oval racetrack being added on his resume. So a great win for Tyler Reddick. Logano, like I said, was able to survive, finish second in the playoffs. Justin Haley, another one of those guys that survived. Been showing a lot of speed lately, Haley has. Finishing third. Ryan Blaney had some issues but was able to recover, finished fourth. Chase Briscoe in the playoffs was really not expected to make it this far. He might make it to the next round with this, with the top 5. Eric Jones ended up finishing in the 6th position. And then, of course, William Byron, after the scuffle he was in, finished 7th. Brad Keselowski, a good run for him. Good run for that team the last few weeks, showing a lot more speed, finishing 8th. Larson, 9th. And then, of course, playoff eligible Larson, by the way, who also had some tire problems at the front of the field. And then Denny Hamlin finishing in the 10th position after his scuffle with William Byron. So that is the top 10. Let's go through the playoff grid right now, something that is pretty important. Joey Logano finishing second today, definitely, and getting a few stage points as well, was able to survive all of the tire chaos. You know, at the end of this race, we didn't know if you were going to blow a tire or not, especially at the front of the field, not being in the dirty air. Unfortunately, that's how the race went. But like I said, this playoff grid is kind of like playing Russian roulette. You don't really know what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it. Joey Logano, 30 points above the cut line right now. Feels pretty comfortable going into the next race. Can't have a flat tire. Cannot wreck. Needs to finish next week at Talladega somewhere in the top 20 at the worst for him to kind of stay above that cut line. Ross Chastain, 18 points above, even closer. Chastain was a little bit aggressive today. You know, they said in the booth he wasn't that aggressive in round 1. Almost didn't make it through round 1. A little bit more aggressive today. Well, he's 18 points above the cut line, so maybe be aggressive if you're Ross Chastain. William Byron showing his side today that he's not going to get run over in these playoffs. 17 points above the cut line, making a big statement with a decent finish today. 7th place finish, showing a lot of speed. Like I said, everything was kind of jumbled up with these tire problems. Kyle Larson, 16 points above. Ryan Blaney, 15 points above. Those two, obviously, a bit of a cushion, but still need to go get those stage points and still need to get good finishes. They wreck, they'll be below the cut line immediately. So they need to try to run up well, get some stage points if possible, and try to get a good finish if possible next week at Talladega without taking yourself out. By the way, you can't take yourself out at Talladega either. Denny Hamlin, obviously, heated up on the line. Only 8 points above right now for Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, he wants to get that first championship. Obviously, with the issues today, he couldn't do a whole lot about it, but a decent run today for Denny Hamlin, finishing 10th. Didn't have that many points going in. 8 points above the cut line right now for Hamlin. Daniel Suarez, 4 points in. One of those guys that was able to survive all day, didn't have any problems, played it very conservative, which was probably the right move. Chase Elliott, I said I was going to show you his wreck. Here it is. He just leading the race. Like I said, you get outside that dirty air, the tire, the right rear tire just goes out on him, slams into the wall, car bursted into flames, and he got out the race car. DNF for Chase Elliott. That is not good for him at all. Only 4 points above. Briscoe, Cindric, Bell, and Bowman are below the playoff cut line right now. Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, unfortunately, after the tire issues today, are most likely in a must-win situation, if you ask me. They have to treat it. They're not officially in a must-win, and there is a way for them to get in, but they need to treat it like a must-win going into Talladega next week. So that's unfortunate, but like I said, we do have Talladega next week. Hopefully that's a bit of a better race. Hopefully that's an exciting race to watch. I'm super excited for Talladega next week. I hope it's way better than this. I hope we don't have any tire problems at the front of the field like we saw at Atlanta earlier this year, like we saw today at Texas, but hopefully it is a good race. Hope you guys tune in for Dirty Air. Like and subscribe if you like the video, obviously, and of course about all these tire failures and about Kyle Busch once again not finishing the race. Let's get rowdy.